This tutorial has been created to support teachers in their use of Google Earth in a Stage 3 science unit of work titled Desert Survivors. Google Earth is used in the second part of the first lesson as a tool to engage students and deepen understanding. In Part A of the lesson, students looked at the last journey of Burke and Wills by reading excerpts from expedition papers and historical recounts of their exploration of the Australian interior. After looking at these sources, students were guided by some key inquiry questions and then recorded their ideas about deserts. Part B involves students revisiting and building upon these ideas, and by navigating the Google Earth site, they can hone in on some of the areas travelled by Burke and Wills. So a good place to start is this screen here, which gives kids a global perspective on Australia and where it's situated. Gives them an opportunity to compare and contrast Australia with some of the neighbouring countries. And I guess the first thing to do would maybe get kids thinking and talking about what they see. They might first start to talk about the colours that they see, and it's a really safe and easy place to start. You could ask them what they see, the differences are between the colours of the island nations above Australia. There's a stark contrast in the sort of deep greens of those countries with this very orangey central part of Australia. Kids might already have an idea of why that is, but you could ask them, what do these colours represent? And as they talk about that, you could take a volunteer from the class and get them to start to zoom in to this section. Now the kids know that they're investigating deserts. As they zoom in, they'll discover that place names are becoming visible, and some of those place names might actually be familiar based on the learning they did in relation to the exploration of Burke and Wills. They'll also discover that there's a whole bunch of icons, little photographic icons initially, and kids can be invited to investigate those, choosing them as they see them. This is a good choice here. They've just randomly selected it, and straight up they're getting a good idea of sort of the wider landscape. As they pan through the selection, they'll see, human activity. What are these guys doing here? Why do you think they might be doing that? And then the third photograph in that set actually shows them evidence of desert animals, which is again something they'll be considering further in the unit. The idea of kids randomly selecting images is excellent. They can sort of lead the inquiry, but if you're not feeling they're getting a really good sense of the desert and what the environment looks like, you can scaffold this lesson by using the toolbar and saving a number of places that you think might be relevant for them to look at. So an example would be perhaps this one here, the Birdsville track. Again, it's a little different to what they just randomly selected. Get an idea of, the harsh terrain. Why do you think these buildings have been abandoned? What's happened after they've been abandoned? Really good questions, really good sort of evidence of the kind of terrain that deserts are. Another talking point could be this section here, which you've got evidence of desert animals. You've got this large termite hill. What's happening in here? What is this? They might not realise, but this is evidence of desert animal life. This image shows them a desert marsupial. Another image of a termite mound. So, the selection of these photographs really deepens and enriches their understanding of the desert environment. To take kids even further, of real interest are these 360 photographic panoramas. So, pretty simple, just to pull up an image, click on it, and that will take them into a panoramic experience of that image. Zooms them right in and up close. The resolution of the image and vary, and I think this one probably is going to be most effective when you zoom out. So, kids can look closely at the desert from 360 degrees. You can see they're getting a good idea of the kind of vegetation that's present in this desert. You can ask some questions about that. Do they see many trees? If they can see trees, are they tall trees? What kind of leaves do they think these trees have? What other kind of vegetation can they see? And as they pan around, they've come into contact with some human involvement in the environment. Obviously, these guys are traveling the desert a long time after Burke and Wills did. What kind of experience are they having? This is where kids might, again, bring their own experience into the classroom. Some kids might have done some of this traveling with their families. It's a good time for them to share and enrich the general class's understanding. And again, continuing to pan. You get a really rich experience of the desert. And exiting the photo is simple. Picking the exit, you'll pan out and you can further pan away. Like so. I think this is a really amazing tool that can be used in the classroom. One last thing to mention is, actually this is quite fun to look at, with the panorama you've really turned things on their head. Sort of bring the class back the right way up. Let's bring north to the top. There we go. And kind of back to where we started. Hopefully the kids' learning experience will be greatly enriched by this wonderful little ICT addition to the lesson.